The reading I'm going to share with you this morning is by the poet Derek Walcott, and it's entitled Love After Love. The time will come when you, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at each other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored. You ignored for another who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own images from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life. For most of my life, I've had a very hard time imagining loving myself in the mirror. At least not before I do the, like this, so that sideways doesn't make me shriek, or, which is my best side, or do whatever, whatever accommodations, bargaining with the mirror like I bargain with the pins at the end of the bowling alley when my ball starts going down the gutter. Like if I go like this, the ball will turn straight, right? Loving yourself in the mirror, peeling that image from the mirror, what an incredible feeling that is. Sometimes when I try, I hear that voice, maybe some of you have that voice, that critic that seems to have just arrived at birth. Sounds remarkably like some people I won't name, and the critic will say, you're so vain, you shouldn't even be looking in the mirror. And I hang my head and I say, you're right. I learned, actually the majority of us do too, because of our negativity bias, we learn how to reject or play down all compliments, and boy, the one negative remark out of 200, oh yeah, we take that one to heart. It's a fairly common way for many of us to live, and not a particularly peaceful or happy way. So I'm inviting us this morning to examine with curiosity and not judgment, with self-compassion and care. I'm inviting us to explore these ways in which perhaps we might learn better, not to be whole, because many of us will be wounded forever and wholeness eludes us sometimes, but learn how to meet those moments of self-deprecation or self-hatred, to meet those moments with compassion and joy, to hold those as much as we hold those moments when the whole world tells us, wow, you are such a shining light, and we go, no, you don't know. As I said earlier in the service, in this time, I am absolutely convinced that it is more important, perhaps, than it has ever been in my lifetime to learn that self-compassion, because we are engulfed by cruelty, gratuitous cruelty against ourselves, against our own people, against one another, that makes no sense, except, as the Southern Poverty Law Center says in its latest issue, you may borrow it, I'll leave it on my desk, divide, demoralize, dismantle. Divide, demoralize, dismantle. What a thought, what a belief. How hard is that to accept? The zip tying of children for hours in a cold and dark parking lot. Now, folks, I have been arrested. I've been zip-tied. I've had my hands zip-tied behind my back, and it is awful for a child watching their parents being taken away. That is cruelty beyond belief, and it hurts us. I shouldn't speak for all of us, but I think I can. Whether we realize it or not, it hurts us. It triggers that feeling of powerlessness and rage and sadness. Even if those who raised us weren't able to teach us self-compassion because they didn't know it, they didn't know how to take care of themselves, we can still learn. Even if all they could teach us was to endure and be stoic, that's not such a bad thing to learn. To survive is not a bad thing. But it's not enough, because we can learn more, so that we can pass that skill along to others, not only to the people we love, but to the people we see on the street who are just waiting for someone to smile and say hello. We're just waiting for someone to be kind for a moment. Can I help you with that? So nice to see you again. We can learn to accept and be patient with ourselves in the darkness. You know what the darkness is. It's not just trying to hide the double chin, which really doesn't work. If y'all know how to do that, let me know. But the darkness, those times when, like all of us, we fail. We remember that negative comment and we internalize it, or that time when, in a moment of impatience, we said, no, leave me alone, go away, whatever it is. And it's not just because of today's environment, it is what happens in our lives, those moments when there truly is nothing we can do. For our loved ones who is addicted, for our loved one who is ill, for our beloved father who, like many men, refused to get appropriate medical care until it was too late. My father always wore tie shoes, which is probably why he made me wear tie shoes instead of buying me loafers. I will hold that resentment until the day I die. But anyway, he wore tie shoes, and I was in the kitchen one day with him when he was holding a pot of boiling water, and he spilled it, and it filled his shoe. And he was like, ah. And I was, 10 years old, 9 years old, and I said, you have to go to the emergency room. You have. Like, I'm the kid, right? And it was a paralyzing moment, because sometimes we just don't know how to take care of ourselves. So I couldn't drive, but I made him go, and it worked out all right, but it was a painful and difficult moment. So how do we learn? As it turns out, men and women, we have about the same amount of not lack of ability to show self-compassion. We just show it in different ways. But self-compassion lack of it is rampant. I mentioned Brene Brown as one of the unspoken saints of Unitarian Universalism, and I love what she says. She calls herself an aspiring enoughist, an aspiring I am enoughist, and a novice and ongoing novice in the art of self-compassion. And she asks a really important question. I know it's important because it made me uncomfortable when I thought about it. So she asks this: is your self-worth waiting for you somewhere out there? Waiting for you to get there? Or is it something you can say right now and mean it? I am enough. Sometimes when it's out there so far away and we know what it looks like, but we just don't necessarily know how to get there, we fake it. And even though there's an expression, fake it till you make it, it's good to know when you are faking it. So if your self-worth is waiting for you out there, maybe you're working, as Brené Brown says, maybe you're hustling for it. And when you hustle for self-worth, when I hustle for self-worth, I want others to acknowledge that I'm worthy so they can do for me what I can't do for myself. So Susan talked about working too hard and doing too much. That's an example of hustling for self-worth. Not setting boundaries, not being clear about who we are and what we can and cannot do and what is ours to do is the lack of self-compassion. Does that make sense? It's hard. It's hard because this is a society that, especially for women, values doing too much and giving too much. I'm reading a great book right now that's entitled How Women Became the Safety Net in the United States, because we don't have a safety net, right? So that self-sacrifice is a very popular thing to do. How do we become the person who can say, I am enough? Dr. Kristen Neff is a PhD and professor at the University of Austin, the University of Texas at Austin, excuse me, I said the title wrong. And she's credited with being the first researcher who actually started studying self-compassion. And she's come up with what I think is a really powerful understanding that can guide us in how to learn better to treat ourselves with compassion. This research is only about 10 or 15 years old. It's really very new. And it's become, her concept has become really established in the field. So she says this: there are 3 elements to self-compassion. The first one is self-kindness, right? Sometimes that's where the bubble bath and the manicure fit in, but it's more than that. It's when you stop yourself from beating yourself up when something goes wrong. Oh, if I had only done this. Oh, it's my fault. I'm so sorry. I made that. I'm so sorry. Stopping ourselves in that moment. Allowing the pain to be there, but then letting it go consciously. Okay, so that happened. Maybe there's something I can do about it next time. Self-kindness. Treat yourself as you might treat your best friend. The second one, this one, as it turns out, the first one is a little bit more difficult for women. The second one is a little bit more difficult for men, as the data show. I'm not saying that, it's the data. This one is common humanity, which is a very Unitarian Universalist concept. And common humanity is simple. It's all of us. You remember, and in my notes I put it in all caps, we are all human. We all fail. Some of us fail spectacularly, some of us fail non-spectacularly, but we all fail. Everybody experiences pain and guilt and regret. And if you don't, well, there's a word for you. It's either psychopath or sociopath. I looked it up. All of us feel shame. All of us have those difficult parts that we learn to push away instead of loving them. And the final one is mindfulness. Mindfulness many of you know what that means generally, but in the context of self-compassion, it's the opposite. If on one side of the spectrum, someone else's pain, or the pain of those who are undocumented, or the pain of those who are unhoused, we become so identified with that pain, it consumes us to the point where it becomes our identity. And when we're over-identified, we're not loving ourselves. And we make ourselves incapable of doing the work we want to do. This happened to me many years ago when I, for a lot of reasons, decided to be part of the early movement to work with women and girls who had been assaulted. And that hadn't taken root yet. It was a long time ago, and in the early 80s. And I would listen to stories of women who had never told anyone for 50 or 60 years that they had suffered in this way. Or I would listen to young women who were not believed, or who were asked, "What did you do to cause this?" And my heart would open, and I would share compassion and love in the moment. And then I would go home, and I would fall asleep because it was too much. I was over-identified. Does that make sense? I was over-identified. And it made me ultimately ineffective until I learned better. I want to share a quote from Dr. Neff about mindfulness. Mindfulness allows us to turn toward our pain with acceptance of the present moment reality. It prevents us from becoming over-identified with difficult thoughts and feelings, so we aren't swept away by negative reactivity. That's hard. That's hard, at least for me, but it's a good practice. And like every practice, we're not perfect. We keep trying. In this year, this church year, when I shared with our ministry team what my goals were for this year and what my most important spiritual practice was going to be this year, I said it's going to be to put myself first. And even in saying that, in that moment, and saying that now, I have this twinge like, that's not right. It's not okay. But guess what? It's helped me realize I don't need to rush around so much. I can be more present. And I can share with you, and my sharing it perhaps will give some of you the encouragement to do the same. When we learn how to love who we are, warts and all, we truly are enough. And maybe we'll be more enough tomorrow. I want to close by reminding us that this is, in fact, part of what our faith tradition calls us to do. When we put love at the center, as Susan and her team showed us, that doesn't mean excluding ourselves. It means putting ourselves at the center so we can love others better. Many of you probably know Leonard Cohen's beautiful song, Anthem. There's a line in that song I want to close with this morning. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Amen, dear ones. Ashe, and blessed be.